Hello everyone and welcome to the channel. I'm back to break down this 11-game MLB DFS slate on DraftKings and FanDuel. Before we get into it, if you do enjoy the content at any point in this video, if you could please leave a like on this video, subscribe to the channel, hit the notification bell, that would be greatly appreciated. That way you won't forget any content or miss any content that I upload. And I'll be uploading daily as much as possible all MLB season long to help you guys become better MLB DFS players and help you guys become more profitable. So all the support, greatly appreciated. Last video, we reached over 50 likes, so that's probably a first on this channel. I'd have to go back and check, but I'm pretty sure, so thank you for all the support. And with that being said, let's go ahead and start breaking down this slate today. You can check out my premium content link below in the description. You get access to all of my data sheets and all the tools that I use in making my own lineups. Off to a pretty good start this season, so check those out. I think they're going to help you become more profitable. And don't forget to stay tuned to the end of the video for my home run call of the day. And with that being said, let's go ahead and start breaking down this one today. As always, we like to go ahead and look at K-rate. It's fantasy sports. We get points for strikeouts. And the top guy on the slate today is going to be Jacob deGrom, taking on the Arizona Diamondbacks. Comes in with a 35% K-rate overall, a 17.6 swinging strike rate, 37.2% K-rate against righties, and then a 33.2% K-rate against lefties. Also very good in the hard contact, ground ball, fly ball, walk rates. All-around elite pitcher. You could argue the best pitcher in the league. In my opinion, he is. So every single time he takes the mound, you're going to have a lot of interest in him. He's pitching in Citi Field, which is also a great pitcher's park. Looking at the chart here, you can see a lot of red as far as the hitting environment there in Citi Field. So deGrom, obviously top pitcher on the slate, comes in as a 333 favorite, a massive favorite to get the win as well. Comes in at 12.5 on FanDuel. Over on DraftKings, they got him priced at 11.7. And he is definitely a top priority. If there's any way you can fit the guy in your lineup, you got to make sure that you do, because I mean, he's just that good. So top pitcher on the slate for sure. Lucas Giolito, second on the list, has a 32.5% K rate overall, a 15.6 swinging strike rate, 32.7% K rate against righties, and then a 32.3% K rate against lefties. Also very good pitcher across the board. Taking on a Kansas City Royals team that doesn't exactly scare us. And he comes in as a 161 favorite. Also looks like there's going to be about 12-mile-an-hour winds blowing in from left center, so that always helps your case as far as pitching to keep the ball in the yard. Comes in at 9.6 on FanDuel. Over on DraftKings, they got him priced at 9.5. So I do think he's definitely a very viable play as well. On the slate, number 2, Kenta Maeda taking on the Detroit Tigers, a team that's been striking out the most out of any team in the league. They're absolutely terrible up and down their lineup, so anytime you got a decent pitcher taking on them, he's going to be a viable option. And Maeda comes in with a 27.6% K rate overall, a 15.1 swinging strike rate, 32.9% K rate against righties, and then a 22.8% K rate against lefties. So we do prefer to target him against right-handed heavy opponents if at all possible. He's still got really good ground ball and fly ball stuff against the lefties. Really good in the walk rate and all that stuff. The problem is the strikeout rate's not quite as high, and we're looking for those high upside pitchers. But I think we can kind of not even worry about that in this particular matchup, because the Tigers are just that bad. So definitely have some interest in him. The only issue is it looks like we could have some weather concerns. We got some precipitation issues here. I'm not sure how heavy the rain's going to be, so keep an eye on the weather forecast. If he's good to go, though, comes in at 7.4 on FanDuel. Over on DraftKings, they got him priced at 8.3. He's been struggling his last few starts out, not quite traditionally as good, or not as good as we would traditionally expect out of him over the course of his career, looking at his numbers. But I think the Detroit Tigers could definitely fix that for him, because they just have looked terrible. The K rates are all up and down the lineup, really bad. So I think I'm willing to ignore the recent struggles and still play him. Matthew Boyd taking on Minnesota, 26.9% K overall, 13.2 swinging strike rate. Does give up quite a bit of hard contact to righties, however, and he's taking on this Minnesota squad that does hit left-handed pitching pretty well. Same game, once again, got to keep an eye on the forecast. It is only 45-degree weather there, so that's also great for pitchers. Not exactly a warm environment, so the ball shouldn't fly quite as well, but Boyd, a viable option. There's some strikeouts to be had in Nelson Cruz, Josh Donaldson, and Kyle Garlick, but it's a little scary. I don't really think it's necessary on this slate today. Tyler Mahle taking on the Cleveland Indians, a team that hasn't really been scaring us. They just got no hit by Wade Miley. This game looks scary bad weather-wise, though. Once again, you never know how hard. I got to look at the forecast, but I mean, it looks like 100% rain all the way through the afternoon. So this game might just be a complete scratch. This one looks to be the worst weather-wise, and I would expect it probably just to not play. Don't quote me on that, because I'm gonna have to visit back throughout the day as we get closer to lock around 1 o'clock. But 26.1% K overall, a 28.1% K rate against righties, and then a 24% K rate against lefties. I do think that he's a great mid-range play if this game is able to go. 8-9 on FanDuel. Over on DraftKings, they got him priced at 8-4. No issues with going there. Domingo Germán taking on Washington in Yankee Stadium. Not exactly the best pitcher's ballpark, and it does look like there's going to be 11-mile-an-hour winds blowing out to left center, so that's a little bit scary, but he does come in as a 166 favorite. Taking on a Washington Nationals team that does have quite a few strikeouts in their lineup up and down. He has a 26% K rate against righties and then a 24.9% K rate against lefties. It is a little bit worse against those left-handers, which is a little scary. He has a 476 slugging given up with a 39.7% hard contact rate. So that might be able to get him in trouble against guys like Juan Soto, Josh Bell, and Kyle Schwarber. All lefties that can really break in the middle of the order. Outside of that, I think it could be decent, but honestly, it just feels like there might not even be a need to go here. Dean Kremer against the Boston Red Sox is a no for me. Dane Dunning taking on the Seattle Mariners could be an interesting option. A 24.6% K overall. The ground ball and fly ball stuff's been really good against righties and lefties. He's also, pretty consistent across the board as far as limiting the slugging. Has a 25.9% K rate against righties and then a 23.2% K rate against lefties. And more notably, the Seattle Mariners team is also a team that's been striking out a lot. Another one that we're looking to target, I mentioned the Detroit Tigers. Seattle Mariners have also been striking out quite a bit. They're coming in with a 4.03 implied run total on this one. Dane Dunning's priced at 6.7 on FanDuel. On DraftKings, they've got him priced at 5.2. So he's really, really cheap. And looking at his game logs, he hasn't really been doing anything too impressive. But, I mean, last time out, 5.2 innings pitched, 2 earned runs, 5 Ks. It's a pretty solid start. And he's all the way down to 5.2. And he gets one of the best possible matchups you could have. So specifically over there on DraftKings, I think you're getting a really good discount on Dane Dunning. FanDuel is pretty cheap as well. Not nearly as good of a deal as you're getting on DraftKings, but yeah, definitely a viable play. And then once we get past them, it's like, I mean, Justice Sheffield taking on Texas. They're also a team that's been striking out a lot. He doesn't have the best strikeout rate, but a 20.7% K overall. His ground ball and fly ball stuff's really good. He has a 20.6% K rate against righties and then a 21.1% K rate against lefties. So, his base numbers really aren't that impressive, but when you're factoring that he's really good at the ground ball, the fly ball, and the slugging, and he's taking on a team that's been striking out a ton, and he's a left-handed pitcher, maybe not the worst play on the slate. 7.5 on FanDuel over on DraftKings. They got him priced at 6.4. There's a lot of elite pitching here. It's going to be kind of tough to get too excited about him, but he's viable. And then you got Sandy Alcantara taking on the Milwaukee Brewers. They're another team we've been really looking to target as far as K rate's concerned. Only has a 19.6% K rate, 11.3 swinging strike rate, 21.6% K rate against righties, and then a 17.9% K rate against lefties. Really doesn't strike many people out, but he gets the matchup when looking at the Vegas lines right now. The Milwaukee Brewers only have a 3.24 implied run total, and he is a 142 favorite. So, he's a guy I'm a little scared to play most nights, or, most slates, because he just doesn't strike anyone out, and that's what we're looking for, high upside strikeout pitchers. But once again, just a really great matchup that can maybe boost his strikeouts enough to where he becomes a viable option on this slate today. And with that being said, let's go ahead and transition over to bats. Figure out the bats we're going to play. As always, I like to go ahead and sort my sheet by Sierra Skill Interactive ERA. It's a great way to determine how good a pitcher's been so far and project how good they're expected to be in the future. Worst on the slate, we got Nate Pearson taking on the Houston Astros. Comes in with a 38.5% ground ball rate, 44.2% fly ball rate. It has a terrible walk issue as well, 16% walk rate. Doesn't give up much slugging to right-handed hitting, but lefties has been really, really bad. A 7.19 slugging with a 40.7% hard contact rate with a 4.73 WOBA. And also only strikes out those lefties 12.8% of the time. That's only an 18 innings pitch sample size, but the Houston Astros definitely have some lefties that can really mash and are going to be in great spots, most notably Yordan Alvarez. And then you got Michael Brantley in the 2 spot as well. And Kyle Tucker in the 7 spot has a bunch of pop, and he's at the bottom of the order. Should probably get him lower owned, and he's going to be in a great position here taking on Pearson. Second on the list, we got Tyler Anderson taking on the Chicago Cubbies. Really bad in the ground ball and fly ball rate. A 4.51 slugging given up to righties, and then a 4.79 slugging given up to lefties. So giving up a lot of slugging. The issue with targeting him today is it's in Wrigley Field, which is the #1 field impacted by wind. If the wind's blowing out, it's very significant. If the wind's blowing in, it's very significant. and we have 20-mile-an-hour winds blowing straight in from center. So I'm going to have a very hard time playing any bats in this game. And yeah, that would be my suggestion to you guys as well. Like 20-mile-an-hour winds, they hit the ball in the air, they could crush it and it still couldn't get out of the ballpark. So I'm all set on that. Joe Ross taking on the New York Yankees. Really bad across the board. Ground ball, fly ball stuff's not good. Has a decent hard contact percentage. Gives up a 450 slugging to righties, however, and a 455 slugging to lefties. He is much more effective against right-handed bats than he is against lefties, I will say. Ground ball, fly ball stuff's all a lot better against those right-handed bats, the hard contact. But still a 456 slugging. Is still not the most talented arm in the world. And I definitely think that we could target these New York Yankees hitters today. They come in with a 5.31 implied run total. In Yankee Stadium, 11-mile-an-hour winds blowing out, and they have a bunch of talent up and down this lineup and guys that are getting hot finally. A lot of people early in the season were getting frustrated playing the Yankees. They were going out there and not performing. Recently, we're seeing some guys heat up, most notably Giancarlo Stanton in the 2 spot. He's been really hot. We saw Gigi LeMahieu hit 2 home runs recently. Aaron Judge has been struggling, but this could be a matchup that could get him going, because we're not really all too worried about the K rate with Joe Ross, so the ball's going to be put in play. And, you know, he's still got that slugging. He's just got to put the ball in play and limit those strikeouts, so I think he's a decent option. Gio Urshela, Gleyber Torres, Mike Ford, all up and down the lineup. They all have power, and they all can definitely get you there. And then, as mentioned, he is worse against those lefties, so a guy like a Mike Ford and Aaron Hicks could really be good plays lower in the lineup for you today. Next on the list, we got Brett Anderson taking on the Miami Marlins. He's actually not all too bad. He does give a 446 slugging to right-handed hitting. So that's his biggest issue, and he doesn't really strike any right-handed batters out. So if we're playing anyone in this one, we're playing the Miami Marlins power bats on the right-hand side of the plate. They are in Miami, which isn't exactly the best hitter's park, unfortunately. Pull up the diagram for you guys right now. You can see a lot of red going on, especially in the home run areas of the ballpark. So it's going to be a little tough going on those Marlins bats, but I do think they're viable, and most notably Jesus Aguilar, Garrett Cooper, Adam Duvall. Those 3 guys all crush left-handed pitching, so I think they're decent options. Sandy Alcantara, we had talked about these Milwaukee Brewers bats. I'm not really looking to target him outside of the lefties. He is pretty bad against lefties. He doesn't really strike anyone out, and he gives up a 425 slugging to those left-handed bats. So, same game. They're not expected to score a lot, but Colton Wong, Daniel Vogelbach, Travis Shaw, most notably Vogelbach and Shaw in the middle of the order. Similar to the Miami side that we talked about. There's some decent one-off bats there that can really rake. So, Nick Pivetta taking on Baltimore. Gives up a lot of hard contact. The K rate isn't the greatest, not the worst, but gives up a 486 slugging to righties and then a 472 slugging to lefties. Has really been struggling in the hard contact for quite some time now. He's in Baltimore, which is a great hitter's park, and it looks like there's 10-mile-an-hour winds blowing out. Looks like we could have some rain concerns, so we'll have to keep an eye on that. But if the game does play, great ballpark for home runs, and as mentioned, Pivetta gives up a lot of hard contact. So I think these Baltimore Orioles are definitely going to be some good options today. Guys at the top of the order with the most power. Austin Hayes, Trey Mancini, DJ Stewart in the middle of the order, Ryan Mountcastle. Freddie Galvis has a bunch of pop for a shortstop. Cedric Mullins at the top has been really good all year long. And then you got guys like Rio Ruiz, Pedro Severino, and Maikel Franco at the bottom of the order, who all have a bunch of power as well. They're all guys that strike out quite a bit, but when they get into it, they can really hit the ball far. So, I like those guys. And I like targeting the Boston Red Sox in that same game. Taking on Dean Kremer. He's been less than impressive. We're dealing with a 39.2 innings pitch sample size at this point. Ground ball, fly ball rates are terrible. Gives up a 500 slugging to righties, and then a 415 slugging to lefties, and a 56.8% fly ball rate against those lefties. Really bad, and the Red Sox have just been hitting the ball really well to start the season out, so I think they're going to be a great stack. Christian Arroyo, Alex Verdugo, JD Martinez, Xander Bogaerts, Rafael Devers. Those 4 are, the core 4 of this lineup, and then Christian Vasquez, Michael Chavis, Hunter Renfroe have a bunch of power as well, and Franchi Cordero at the bottom of the order. Definitely going to have some interest in stacking up those Red Sox today. Adam Wainwright taking on the Colorado Rockies. He's really bad against left-handed bats for the most part, so if you want to target the lefties, but the Colorado Rockies just really aren't that good of a lineup, so I'm not getting all excited for that one. Mike Minor taking on the Chicago White Sox, a team that really hit left-handed pitching well. We saw them really get to the lefty last night, the rookie, and now they get to take on Mike Minor. 41% fly ball rate, 410 slugging against righties, with a 42.1% fly ball rate and a 37.4% ground ball rate. Really gives up a lot of hard contact, and then as mentioned, we got plenty of options to target. The problem is there's 12-mile-an-hour winds blowing in from left center. They only have a 4.15 implied run total. That's a little scary because, if I'm targeting those right-handed bats, I'm really looking for them to get in the ball and yank it out to left field. But 12 mile-an-hour winds isn't the greatest, amount of wins. So maybe we can still play them. Tim Anderson, Jose Abreu, Yerman Mercedes, Yasmani Grandal, Andrew Vaughn would be my favorite options, along with Lurie Garcia and Danny Mendick at the bottom of the order. Yohan Moncada is always a decent option. I do prefer to target him against right-handed pitching, but he's still in the middle of the order, and he can still, get the job done. And I think he's starting to improve against those lefties a little bit more than what we've seen in the past. So no issues with the White Sox stack at all. And then once we get past them, things get a little less interesting, honestly. I had talked about Domingo Germán's struggles against left-handed pitching. Left-handed hitting. So I do think that the Washington stack's going to be a viable one today. A 40.4% hard contact rate. The ground ball and the fly ball stuff really isn't the greatest. It is really good against right-handed hitting, but against lefties is where things go downhill. A 476 slugging, a 39.7% hard contact rate, 33.7% ground ball rate, and a 44.1% fly ball rate. Really not the greatest numbers, and more notably, these Washington Nationals just really have some left-handed bats that can slug, and they're in Yankee Stadium with the short right porch. They're going to be a great spot in this one. Juan Soto, Josh Bell, Kyle Schwarber, Yandy Hernandez, and then, of course, you can round out your stacks with the elite talent of Trey Turner, maybe a Josh Harrison, who's been hitting the ball well lately, Starlin Castro, and no issues with the Washington stack today. I think they're going to be, a pretty decent option to be going to as well. And, yeah, that's pretty much all. Sam Hentges for taking on Cincinnati is a lefty, and the Reds definitely have some guys that mash lefties, and he's been really bad against righties so far. We're only dealing with a 9 innings pitch sample size, so, tread lightly on these numbers, but an 806 slugging, giving up the 517 WOBA has been really bad. And unfortunately, it looks like this game probably won't play, but if it did, or if it does, guys like Nick Castellanos, Eugenio Suarez, Tyler Stevenson all crush left-handed pitching, along with Nick Senzel at the top of the order. So they would definitely be a good stack to be looking at today. With all that being said, that is my overall breakdown of this 11-game slate. Before I let you guys go, I got to give you my home run call of the day. Let's get into it. And my home run call of the day today is going to be Juan Soto taking on Domingo Germán. I had mentioned his issues against left-handed hitting, a 476 slugging with a 39.7% hard contact rate, 44.1% fly ball rate, and a 33.7% ground ball rate. And we're looking at what he has as far as his repertoire is concerned. On average, he'll throw a 93 mile-an-hour fastball about 40% of the time. Juan Soto features a 200 ISO, a 68% hard contact rate, and a 412 WOBA against that pitch. And as far as his secondary pitches, first he'll go to the curveball, then the changeup. Looking at how Soto hits those pitches, a 328 ISO with a 474 WOBA against the curveball, and then the changeup has a 229 ISO with a 418 WOBA. Love this spot for Juan Soto. Gets to hit in Yankee Stadium with the wind blowing out. Going deep today. Get him in your lineups because he is my home run call of the day. So there you have it, guys. Juan Soto. Get him in your lineups. And that is all for me in this one. If you did enjoy the content, if you could please leave a like on this video, subscribe to the channel, and hit the notification bell. That would be greatly appreciated. Wish you guys all the best of luck today. And we will see you in the next one.